You're less likely to be involved in gunplay. We're finding scenes where people are victims and they have firearms on them.
The city's chief of police insists the streets are safe. Plus,
for no reason, some guy tried to take his phone.
It was an assault and robbery that turned even scarier when witnesses thought they couldn't call for help. Also coming up. These property owners say a nightmare tenant cost them thousands of dollars and left a hateful message behind. Good evening, I'm Magda Gebrselassie. While we begin with breaking news from Burlington, where a car has plunged into a bay on the shores of Lake Ontario. People are believed to be inside the car. Halton police are on the scene and dive teams are in the water. Adrian Chung joins us live from the scene at LaSalle Park Marina. So Adrian, what are police telling you?
Well, Magda, police say that this happened just at about 8 o'clock tonight and that they believe that there are 2 people inside of that vehicle still right now. They also say that the car was sitting in this parking lot, in this laneway, before the driver accelerated, hopping over several barriers and then into the water. And at this point, we don't know what the speed of the car was or why exactly the driver drove towards the dock there. Here's what police told us just a little bit earlier on what they believe happened.
The vehicle drove through a concrete barrier and through a sign and became submerged in the lake. We believe the vehicle is about 40 to 50 feet out into the lake, completely submerged. Witness statements did tell us that there is possibly 2 occupants inside the vehicle. Unfortunately, at this time, we do believe this to be a recovery mission. We have the Peel Regional Police Dive Unit is on scene.
You also spoke to witnesses. What are they saying?
Well, I spoke to a man and his family who take the walk by the marina here every single night. They say that it was just really any other night until this incident happened. And he says this is where some of the numbers differ. He is adamant that he saw 3 people inside of that car. Again, police at this point have only confirmed that they believe that there are 2 people. And then additionally, he heard the splash of the car and he saw the driver of the car inside, obviously in some kind of panic, that his eyes, he said, were incredibly wide, that he was looking for some kind of help. Then he saw some witnesses running towards the car as it was quickly sinking. Those people who were fishing nearby jumped into the water to try to save whoever was inside. But when they surfaced, he says that they told him that it was simply too dark, that there was too much algae at the bottom of the bay to help and save whoever was inside. Here's what the witness told us, says he heard the sounds right after the car went into the water.
They crashed through those 2 large blocks at the end over there. They just came crashing through. So I would assume that it would be some kind of medical issue. It was just two large crashes, and then we heard call 911. We heard a splash. It would look like a male in the driver's seat and a female in the passenger seat. And in the back, like I said, I couldn't see. I was kind of more focused on the driver. And there was 2 people jumping in, and people were kind of frantic to see what they could do, but really there was nothing anybody could do with the speed of the car and conditions on the bottom. Nobody could have done anything.
Now, police told us that there are more dive teams on the way from Peel Region. As well, we see a large tow truck, and that tonight they plan on getting that car out of the water and whomever might be inside at this point. Magda?
Thanks, Adrian. Well, we also had a number of drownings this long weekend, including a man who was found dead in Trent River on Canada Day morning and a 37-year-old Brampton man who died in Lake Muskoka on Saturday. In Fort Erie, a 6-year-old boy drowned in a backyard pool on Saturday afternoon. Police arrived to find the boy without vital signs, and just last night, a 25-year-old Brampton man died at Wasaga Beach. Rupesh Narula was swimming when police say he didn't make it back to the shore. The OPP has deemed his death an accident. Well, it's been a violent and deadly kickoff to summer in Toronto. 5 people were killed in 4 days between Thursday and Saturday. Today, the city's chief of police faced some tough questions. As for answers, he says he wants to stop the violence before it gets to this point. Chris Glover has the story.
We have to invest in our young men and women.
These students will spend their summer assigned to a police unit.
We have 153 people that are from those neighborhoods that does not have the funding that is necessary. We employ them. We try our best to instill positive role models.
More than a photo op, Toronto's police chief says the program is meant to help stop kids from entering gang life.
If you don't have a high-risk lifestyle, the odds of you being injured by gunplay is extremely low in this city for an urban city.
2008 grad of the program, Iman Ahmed, is now a 53 Division police officer. He credits the program with helping him stay out of trouble in his Regent Park neighborhood.
Let these experiences change who you are in a positive way.
After 3 weeks of no homicides in Toronto, this past Thursday to Sunday has been alarmingly deadly. A 17-year-old killed in a spray of bullets after his high school grad. A targeted shooting outside an apartment building killing 2 men. And Jordan Armstrong, a promoter who was killed in the bathroom of a downtown club. His friend started an online fundraising drive.
The club is always packed. How come there was no one in the washroom? How come no one witnessed it? Like, hands down, like, Jordan's not, like, involved in any, like, gang-related. He's, like, the most decent person. Like, all he does is, like, promote for parties, and that's it. Like, that's why everyone's confused as to why anyone would, like, want to hurt him.
Last summer, violence was so rampant, 200 officers were temporarily added. It resulted in 1 less shooting compared to the 8 weeks prior to the campaign. The Police Association says the boost was too temporary and mostly officers working overtime.
We're almost 800-900 officers down what we were 6 years ago. I think we need to hear from the chief what the plan is to deal with this.
The chief says this preventative campaign is just one of his priorities.
We're making those arrests, but that is not the solution. There has to be a holistic approach if we're going to get it right.
Back here at the scene of the latest homicide, you can see flowers and messages of support to Jordan Armstrong have gathered on that signpost, and you can expect to see more of an outpouring of support this upcoming weekend when a vigil is planned for here. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
It's been a busy Canada Day long weekend. It's always disheartening and disappointing when something like this happens. I've dealt with a lot of these incidents over the years. We try to prevent them from happening, but from time to time we do have to deal with it.
That's from an officer at the scene of yet another shooting last night. This one happened near a North York playground. Police got a call just before 10 for a shooting on Falstaff Avenue near Jane and the 401. A man between 30 and 40 years old was found with gunshot wounds and rushed to hospital with life-threatening injuries. This comes after another man in North York was sent to hospital earlier that evening after shooting near Leslie Street and Van Horn Avenue. Well, 2 men were rescued from a collapsed trench this afternoon. It happened in the DVP in Lawrence area. Police say a man was working in an unboxed trench, meaning it had no supports around it, and suddenly the ground underneath him gave way. That's when a second man jumped in to save him. Both men were trapped. One of them had dirt up to his neck and was having trouble breathing. Emergency crews worked and were able to dig the men out.
It's a trench. It could possibly fall in deeper and now engulf the 2 people that are already in there. We don't want to do that, but we have to stabilize first the trench to be able to get the people out, which we were able to do successfully.
Both men were sent to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The Ministry of Labor is investigating. It's time for our first look at the weather with Nick Cernkovich. You know, we finally got some summer-like weather this weekend. What does the week look like?
Yeah, you know, everybody was waiting for it. And the last time I was on the show, we were talking about where is this warm weather. It finally came for the long weekend, and it is sticking around for the next few days. We are looking at some muggy weather for the next 3 days at least. Humidex values near that 40 mark, but a little bit of relief on the way as we head through the weekend. For the next 24 hours, though, look for rain showers down southwestern Ontario and even up toward Hamilton, clearing by tomorrow morning. Bit of cloud cover, but by the afternoon, we're back into the sunshine once again. And temperatures, again, on the high side. In fact, through tonight, we're looking at an overnight low of 20 with the humidex of about 26 to 28. Tomorrow afternoon, though, high of 30 degrees, humidex of 37, and that's not it. We've got more of that in the forecast for the rest of the week, followed by a little bit of a rain and some cool down. Full details coming up in just a bit.
All right. Thanks, Nick.
You bet.
An altercation inside Sherbourne Station is raising questions about how TTC emergency buttons function. This follows an incident last week where a young man was being beaten. Witnesses say they tried to get help by pushing the buttons, but they didn't work. The TTC, meanwhile, has an explanation. Kelda Yun has the story.
Tyler Kidd takes the subway every day. Last Thursday, he walked up these steps at Sherbourne Station and witnessed a frightening scene.
As I went over, you kind of realize that there's a gentleman on top of this kid, just pulverizing him.
Kidd says the suspect mistakenly thought the victim had stolen his phone. He took this video on his cell phone in the aftermath. You can see the TTC constables apprehending the suspect, but getting to this point is where his frustration lies.
So we started hitting the button, this button here, and the button on the other side, and it was just blank. There's no answer, nothing.
What he should have heard is this. Now, the TTC said all of the buttons at the station actually were working on that day, including this one, and that the collector was actually alerted by the first call that came in. And we tried it again today. You go for it.
All right.
Hello? Hi. And it worked. Stuart Green from the TTC says what happened was that someone else had already pressed one of the other 4 buttons located throughout the station, and that the collector was busy on that call.
It's similar to a phone system. You know, you pick up your phone, you don't have call waiting, you get a busy signal, right? So that's what would have happened in a case like this. So anyone else in the station that would have pushed one of these buttons, and it's great that other people were pushing the buttons because that's what they're there for, but the collector was already on that call. So the collector had been notified, was actually on the call with transit control as well at the same time, alerting transit control, who could then alert 911 and the police.
The TTC constables arrived 20 minutes later and arrested the suspect, who has now been charged. But Kidd remains very concerned that there was no communication that someone had already pressed the button and that help was on the way.
It literally sounded like this thing wasn't even hooked up.
It is helpful for people to know that, you know, that the collector is already on the phone with somebody, already on the call with somebody. So again, in our new system, that's something we can look at.
Green says the TTC is also aware the system could pose a problem if there are multiple emergencies going on at the same time. He says the TTC is currently moving toward a new digital system and will consider all these factors. Kelda Yun, CBC News, Toronto.
I'm Talia Ricci. A Toronto couple says they're out thousands of dollars in the process of evicting a tenant, partly because of delays that are happening at the landlord and tenant board. Their nightmare situation ended with a hateful slur being left on their walls. We'll have that story coming up.
Well, if you're planning to take the DVP anytime this week, pack your patience. Traffic is going to get worse as of today due to some bridge repairs.
Oh, wow. It's bad, to start with. Never mind, now there's going to be only 2 lanes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's really bad.
What a mess. An absolute mess, but you know, it is what it is. Canada's got winter and Canada's got construction. You got to put up with it.
Construction will be taking place on 4 DVP bridges, from the one at Don Mills all the way up to Lawrence. The city's chief engineer says the city is addressing all of the bridges at the same time so they don't have to keep coming back. But not everyone is a fan of that idea.
I guess what I hear, the mayor wants to do everything at once because he wants people not to suffer too much, but I don't know. I don't agree with that too much, but what can you do? We don't have a decision in it. We just got to go through it, and that's it.
Yeah. Right now, traffic is squeezed in both directions because of the 2 median lanes are cordoned off. The parkway is going to be reduced to 2 lanes most of the time, starting today and continuing all the way until October. A Toronto couple says they're out thousands of dollars due to a nightmare tenant and delays at the landlord and tenant board. The couple says by the time they went through the process to evict their tenant, who stopped paying rent for their rental property in Oshawa, she fled and left behind a trashed home with a hateful message on their wall. Taylor Ricci has the story.
Big letters here, bold letters, right here.
When this couple became landlords, they never thought they'd be signing up for this, cleaning a hateful slur targeting their sexual orientation off the wall.
I was so distraught. I couldn't believe it. It was just a horrible situation because I'm scared when somebody writes something like that.
Durham Regional Police told CBC News they're currently investigating this incident as a mischief to property.
Thank God it's gone, but it's never going to be the same.
But that it doesn't meet the criteria for a hate crime at this stage. The couple says their tenant left that message and a trashed home after not paying rent for months. And now they're out tens of thousands of dollars.
It's been horrible. It's just a nightmare for us.
The couple filed for an order to evict the tenant back in December 2018 and didn't receive a decision from the board until nearly 5 months later. Their lawyer says the landlords did everything right, even going through a real estate agent to find their tenant.
This decision tells us that if you get some bad luck and you do everything right and you get the right tenant and you vet them and something goes wrong, it could put you in a situation where you suffer an enormous loss. And then someone may now think twice before renting their apartment.
The Landlord and Tenant Board's website states a review is being conducted of all tribunals to identify areas for improvement and make services more streamlined, cost-effective, and efficient. The Ministry of the Attorney General said in a statement to CBC News it is working on addressing resources to Landlord and Tenant Board needs to adjudicate cases, adding tribunals are processing applications and hearing cases in the usual manner during the review. This couple says after their ordeal, they're now out close to $30,000 in owed rent, legal fees, and cleaning.
We're kind, we're gentle, and then have it turned against us.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
When I looked, I saw water pouring out of the building like Niagara Falls.
And this is sewer water. I don't know what is in it. I don't know what infections that they might have, what contaminants might have.
Dozens of people forced from their apartments after sewage backup in Etobicoke. We'll bring you the details after the break.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
A sewage backup forced at least 16 people from their apartments last night. The flooding affected at least 3 towers on Bloor near Old Mill. And as Greg Ross tells us, some of the residents are worried about more than just their personal belongings.
It smelled like
Catherine Trowell says there was no doubt it was sewage water that flooded her building last night. She was one of the lucky tenants. Trowell lives 1 floor above where the bulk of the flooding happened.
the 2 floors beneath me were underwater. When I looked, I saw water pouring out of the building like Niagara Falls.
We need to get out of here. One tenant took this video on their cell phone as water poured down stairwells, flooding hallways, the parking garage, and apartments.
You tried to stop the water from coming in?
To stop the water coming in and to kick the water who was already in.
Jose Leon did his best to protect his unit before being forced to evacuate. Today, he returned home to find cleanup crews ripping out carpets and floors in the building. He says they'll likely have to do the same in his apartment.
Did the water get this far?
Yeah, it went all this. Yeah, the water was all here. Yeah, the water was all everywhere.
So this floor is just completely ruined.
It's ruined.
But he says that's the least of his concerns. Leon recently had surgery to treat cancer and says his immune system hasn't fully recovered.
And this is sewer water. I don't know what is in it. I don't know what infections that they might have, what contaminants might have.
Last night, the Red Cross put him up at a hotel. He says they told him they would be able to help him out for about a week.
But after that, you might have to find something.
After that, who knows what.
The city of Toronto is now investigating the cause of the backup. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
And Nick is back with another look at the weather. You did mention rain last time around. How much?
Yeah, just a little bit of it, and that's not going to be until Friday. In fact, before that, we've got more in the way of sunny skies and warm weather as well. Not even warm, but hot weather. This is what we had today. Here's a look at afternoon temperatures. They were at 26 through the morning, and then into the afternoon, temperatures around 26 to 28 degrees across the GTA. With the humidex, though, it felt as much as about 33 or 34 around the Golden Horseshoe. More of that to come. In fact, that's well above seasonal. Average highs for this time of year, about 26. So we're not at the record, but we certainly are above the average in some places anyway across the GTA. For the next 24 hours, look for rain showers from sort of Hamilton southwestward to clear out by tomorrow morning. A little bit of cloud cover for the GTA through the morning, but by the afternoon we're into the sunshine. And in fact, the sunshine sticks around all the way through till Thursday, just a few clouds at best. And the humidity also sticking around through the next few days as well. Down in Windsor through tonight, temperatures around 20 degrees. Humidex values tonight still in that 26 to 28 range. We are looking at showers and thunderstorms, though locally heavy rainfall down in southwestern Ontario tonight. By tomorrow, the chance of seeing a few lingering showers, high humidex values, heat warning in effect down in the Windsor, Chatham, Essex area. Temperatures around 30 degrees, though, for the most part. Humidex values down in extreme southwestern Ontario, touching that 40 mark. For us in the Golden Horseshoe, we're looking at generally dry conditions, some cloud cover tonight. Temperatures hovering around 20 degrees. Humidex tonight, though, still around 26. By tomorrow afternoon, we're looking at highs of 29, 30 degrees. Right down by the water in Toronto, though, a little bit cooler, just with a bit of a breeze coming off of the lake. But otherwise, as you get away from the lake, temperatures approaching 30, humidex values around 36 to 38 once again. Next 5 days looks like this. There's your humidex values all the way through until Friday. Temperatures around that 30 mark right through till Friday. Now, we are looking at the risk for some thunder showers on Friday, and that's along a cold front that's going to usher in slightly cooler, slightly drier weather as we head into the weekend, but still hanging on to sunshine.
Sounds good. Thanks, Nick.
You bet.
Nazem Kadri has posted his goodbye to Toronto after being traded from the Leafs to the Colorado Avalanche yesterday. Kadri wrote on Instagram, 10 years, what can I say? Words cannot describe what this city means to me. You welcomed me in as a boy and watched me grow and evolve in front of your eyes. Thank you for opening your arms up and making me feel right at home. I cannot wait to join my new team. The new chapter starts now. Thank you, Toronto, for everything you have done for me. I will never forget it. Before we go, an incredible story from the world of nature to tell you about. A lone Arctic fox traveled more than 3,500 kilometers over 2.5 months. That's from Norway all the way to Canada. The trek has stunned researchers. The fox, fitted with a tracking device, set out on March 26th. After traveling over sea ice for weeks, it arrived in Greenland on April 16th. And yesterday, it arrived on Ellesmere Island in Nunavut. It is the longest and fastest journey ever recorded for the species. And that's our show for tonight. Thanks for watching. For news anytime, you can head to our website, cbcnews.ca/Toronto. Have a great night.